Good morning. Today is the 4th of November 2024 and I'm going to go through my trading checklist and levels for today. Just make sure my microphone's working okay, which it is. Okay, so on my screen we're looking at the ES and this is the 1 hour time frame. Before we do anything, let's check to see what news could move the market today. And I took a quick look, there's not much today. Factory orders at 10, so potentially that could move things. Let's just open up my pen. Zoom in. You can see we've only got a few levels today. I'm only really watching this low, 57.35 for a bounce. And once my pen opens, there we go. So I'm really watching this area here for a bounce. 57.40, 57.35, that area is a big zone, so we're looking for confirmation. And I'll consider also a break and retest short into that area as well. So if we can break through the pre-market low, then I'll be looking for a target around there. Same with pre-market high. If we can get above pre-market high, I quite like the long into this region, 5800. And then 5800 is the area I quite like. We've got a bit of area confluence, bottoms of these pivots, tops of these pivots as well. 5800 is a psychological number, so I do quite like that area. Let's just zoom out a bit. And it's big area confluence as well. You can see over here we've got tops of pivots, we've got bottoms and bottoms pivots, so that's a big area to watch, and we've already rejected it there as well. So if we can get back up into this region, I'll be looking for a rejection, and if we can break down into this region, I'll be looking for a bounce. And again, if you look to the left, we've got this area confluence, lots of bottoms of pivots as well, so there's a big level to hold. So that's basically the two main areas I'm watching. We just want to keep within this zone really. You can see clear levels of supply and clear levels of demand, so that's the area I'm watching. Pretty much that's it. And obviously if we do break over the pre-market high or pre-market low, I'll be watching the breakouts of these, and I'll be looking for a break and retest of that level with confirmation. And the same down here, break and retest. We've got yesterday's low a little bit below, so I may hold off on a short until we can get below yesterday's low level and pull back into that area. Let's look at the order flow quickly. So on my screen you can see now the order flow. I'll be looking at cumulative delta divergence, so you can see overall the price is coming down, overall the cumulative delta is coming down, so there's no potential reversals we're looking at the moment or any areas of interest. It looks pretty straightforward. On the 30-minute, which is this chart over here, this chart here, there's no big areas where I'm seeing the point of controls of each candle. What I'll be looking for is like lots of points of controls, which is these yellow lines all in the same area, and if I see that, then I would be looking at that area as a potential stop or a bounce point. You've got this region here, potentially this region here, so we have got something around 57.63. Previously we had high volume of orders in that area, so potentially if we're looking for a bounce or a rejection, we can keep an eye on that area. We don't have hardly any orders today, so I don't know how today's going to go with the elections tomorrow, whether we're going to see a bit of a non-event day or an inside day, or whether we're going to see lots of volatility, but potentially that'll be tomorrow. So back onto my main screen now, looking at SPY. So I'm currently short at the moment as well. I took a short on NQ, which I'll just go into right now. I shorted this trend line rejection, and I've been short since 20 to 11, that region, and it seems to be, well, in fact my short is around 2170, so it's about here actually. So a little bit low, right on one of the levels I was watching, pre-market, basically at the pre-market high. And so I just keep an eye on that on my other screen. I've got a target for low of the day. It's more of a scalp than anything. But let's just quickly go over SPY for a second. Again, similar levels to ES. I like this zone up here for the rejection. And I do quite like this area here as well for the bounces. Let's go left a bit. You can see clear supply and demand area. It's got this region here, which is why I like that region. And we've got this region here as well. So why we've not been back down into that area for some time. Last time we got there, we had this big reaction to it. So we could expect another bounce at 566 to 568. So that's the area I'm watching on SPY. And then if we get into this 574, 576 area, then I'll be looking for a rejection. If we get above that area, it's going to be tricky, because then we'll be looking to potentially get back up into the all-time highs. But we do have a level here. You can see a volume shelf to the left, this volume shelf here, and a big area of confidence as well, and that will be 578, and we can watch that also for the rejection. SPX, pretty much the levels the same as before. You can see we're still playing between these zones, and we've barely moved outside of them. Again, keep an eye on these couple key areas, 5680 to 5700 for the bounce, 5760, 5770 roughly, and then we've got this region up here, the gap fill area as well, at 5800, psychological number. So I'll only be looking to go long or short on ES if SPX is in the right place. So if I'm watching for a bounce down here at 57.35, then on SPX I only want to be looking for the long if we are also coming in for the bounce in that region or that region. But if we happen to be just below those areas, or in fact that's the region I'm watching on ES, this region here. So let's take that as an example. If we're below 68, 56.80 and I'm looking for a long, I'll be going long into this potential overhead resistance. So I don't really want to go long on ES, because it'd be hard trying to break through and you might see it reject down. So that's why I keep an eye on SPX levels, and if SPX lines up with ES, which lines up with SPY, and even if NQ's in our direction as well, because obviously a lot of the holdings in NQ are also in SPY, in SPX and ES, so hopefully they all line up, then that'll make it a better play. Looking at NQ next, as you know, I'm currently short. This is my short area here. I'm targeting low of the day for a target. We had this break of trend, which is why I quite liked it, and we had top of a trend line there as well. And you could even draw in the trend line from up here. Maybe it's not that accurate, but definitely this area here I was watching this morning, this region here for the rejection, and it's into an area I was watching last week as well. So let's just zoom out a bit. So a bit of a confidence area, a little bit of a volume shelf as well. You can see it better now. So this region here is a bounce, good bounce area. Why does it do that? Regular. So 20,000 to 20,050, we can watch that region for the bounce. Good region as well because it's a psychological area. So this region is our bounce area. 20,000 is a psychological number, which is why I quite like it. And then the rejection, you can see this big area of confidence from a mile off. It's this region up here, all the way across, and comes right into this volume shelf as well, which then leads up into the point of control. So this area here is full of volume, so it's going to be hard trying to break through that. So if we do break through that, we can be watching for the break and retest into these highs here, but not all-time highs. But I see this as a big area of supply, and if we can get up into that region, we can watch for the rejection. And then break and retest of the lows. Yeah, I do quite like that, especially as we can see waning volume, declining volume into these areas, so we can watch for a break and retest of pre-market low into targeting the 19,900, but also keep an eye on this 20,000. If we are to go short, that could act as a potential bounce area because it's a psychological number. QQQ, you can see clearly the break and retest, well, the break of the trend line. You can see that on all of the stocks actually. May not be a trend line, oh, there is a trend line there as well. So that's the hourly. So we're looking more bearish and bullish at the moment on the hourly. And let's quickly go to the daily. Oh, strange, I lose my volume. Let's add this back in every day. I save it as well. Volume bars pro. It's an indicator of my own indicator. I think I based it on another one, but what it does, the white bars shows me where there's extra high volume compared to the previous few bars. Just draws my attention to it. You can see we had extra high volume on this down day on Friday, and we're obviously inside this candle right now. So bounce area is also right on this point of control. Increased volume could be showing well, there's more effort when we've broken that trend line, so we've got increased volume, and then we've already got 3/4 of the volume today from that smaller candle. So interesting to see where we go with that. We do have the 50 below at 480, 480 to 484. We also have the 200 at 460. And let's just zoom out. Yeah, that's our bounce area for sure. 480 is an area to watch if we're short. So let's go back to the hourly. So 480 is what happens to be in our hourly area, exactly where we're watching for the bounce. And I do quite like that area based on what we've just looked on the daily. And if I zoom out, it's a big area of confluence. Got a volume spike just there as well. Tops of pivots, bottoms of pivots there, and this is the area we're watching for the bounce. And then rejection, I do quite like this area here, which is 494, so basically same levels we was watching last week. So 494, if we do get up to 494, I like it more because it's coming into firstly this trend line, and it's a break and retest that trend line. Then it's coming into this 200 moving average, is starting to curve over a bit now, and also it's a level we're watching as well, big area of confluence and lots of volume. So there's quite a lot of reasons why I quite like the rejection of 494 and QQQ, and I think that's it really. If we lose the lows, we can watch for break and retest off the pre-market high and low as well. But bear in mind the pre-market high, it's not far off the break and retest of the area watching 490, this area of confluence. So it's another area to keep an eye on as well. So more of a scalp long, I think. But I do quite like the break and retest short. That's why I'm still short right now. How's that doing? It's doing okay. It's getting close to my target. So I'm going to try not to be biased, but I'm slightly biased on the short side. But we'll see how the market responds when it opens. Oil, oh, look at that. So these levels are so good, so spot on almost always. So this area here we've been watching some time, and we come right back into that area. Look at that, right to the penny. We've rejected it. So keep an eye on pre-market high at 71.81. This is one of two plays. We can watch it for the rejection if we get back up there again, or we can watch it for the break and retest up to the next level, which is 73, and that's basically this area of confluence. And it's also on the trend line as well. I know the trend line is probably not valid anymore, but there's another reason to keep an eye on it. Otherwise, we can watch for a bounce. I do quite like the bounce around the point of control, which is 70. We've got this region here, 70. So right on the point of control. So I like that area for the bounce. Let's just zoom in a bit to get a better picture. So it's a big area of confluence as well. You can see we've got bottoms of pivot, kind of hesitated, broken, retest that area. It gap down to that area as well, big gap as well. So I do quite like this area for the bounce. And that's pretty much really break and retest, also a rejection. And one other thing we can watch, if we do break the trend line, we'll ignore that bit down there. Let's draw proper. That trend line there, we can look for the break and retest of that trend line, because what I'm looking at right now is potentially a head and shoulders pattern setting up, but we've only just put in the head, so keep an eye on that. If we see it do something like that, then we can watch for the neckline and we can watch for the break and retest short. Gold, it's been strong for a while, and then we had a bit of a big red day. Look at that for the volume as well. So we were overbought there, right into that area which we saw. We was keeping an eye on that. Increased volume, end of a trend and maybe increased volume, and then we just sold off, and we talked about that. RSI, we're right in the normal area at the moment. So let's keep an eye on this trend line, that line there, and potentially pre-market high. We are still bullish overall, so we watch pre-market high break and retest long, same as we get over yesterday's and Friday's high as well. But if we lose this region, yesterday's low, pre-market low, which is almost in the same place, then I do quite like the break and retest short. And we've got a bounce area here. We've got an alert sitting there as well. It's 27.30, and let's zoom out to see where that goes. 27.30. You can see it was a ceiling, became the floor, remained the floor, and we've yet to come back to retest it. Last time we retested it, we had this big reaction up, so potentially we could watch that again. If we lose it, we can look for the break and retest short. As long as we're still within that downward trend line. RTY, it's a bit messier this one. Potentially we've had the bounce. I'll tidy up some of these lines at some point. The only place I like for the bounce is this region here, which we may have already had that already. Let's keep an eye on that, watch it for the bounce again, put in a bit of a, but zoom in a bit. Just draw in the trend line. So we could watch for the bounce off of this trend line, yesterday low, but we are putting in this kind of pattern. How you want to draw it. So we are narrowing in, and we're going to pick a direction, break and retest of either of these trend lines, long or short. So break over pre-market high for the long, break below pre-market low, yesterday low for the short. We are below the moving averages as well right now, so the market's biasing slightly on the short side, and we do have this big area of confidence, but let's just check the volume profile. If we get down to this region, notice how the volume just tails off as well. A little bit of volume there, and then it really tails off. So if we lose this area, we could see a big move down before the next area. And then YM. Again, we've got that trend line we can keep an eye on reducing volume, so keep an eye on that. Usually that's a sign that there's a bit of weakness in this pullback. So we watch for a break and retest our pre-market low, or if we can get above yesterday's high, we can watch for a break of that as well. Let's just zoom in a bit. So the rejection area, you can see point of control, big amount of volume right through this region here. So 42,600 is a rejection area. Pre-market high break and retest. We've got a bit of a void above before we get to any volume, but the volume is increasing into that area, and then we can use yesterday's high, the decline in 200 moving average, which is the purple line, as a potential area where we can take a target. and then we've got this zone here for the rejection, 42.50 to 42.60, 42.500, 42.600. And I think that's it really for YM. And obviously we've got this region down here for the bounce. Big area of confluence. You see tops of these pivots. Can't quite see it there, but there's a top of a pivot there as well. Was the ceiling, then became the floor, and then it bounced again there. So let's watch that area as well. 42,000 is also a psychological number as well for the bounce. And then Bitcoin. So we're kind of right in that break and retest phase. Let's have a look on the daily. Retesting this region here, and we've retested that area there. We've kind of gone through that area, so we could wait for it to pull back down into 65,000. Watch out for the bounce up, but this is the key area here. If it gets over 73, then we're putting in potentially new all-time highs. I don't think we're putting in a new all-time high. I think that's an equal high a couple of days ago. We could also be setting up a potential head and shoulders pattern. We haven't got to that bit yet. We'll see whether we see that form, and if that does, it looks more of a bearish pattern for the break and retest short. So I've got a bit of a cold coming on, as you can probably hear. And I think that's it really. I'd still quite like this area of confluence right here where we came into. And you can see where the point of control is as well. The most amount of volume is right at that area. So I do quite like the bounce round about 68,000. At 68,000. This region here, we can watch for a bounce. We can see we bounced there already. So keep an eye out for a bounce again. And I think the next phase will be the break and retest over 73,000. And I think that's it at the moment. I've just hit my target as well, which is good. I've got one contract of NQ left, which I'm going to trail down. In fact, I'm going to close that right now. So that's my target on NQ as well, which is good. Nice little scalp in the pre-market. That's it really. Let's just quickly go back to ES, see if anything's changed. Market opens in about 7-8 minutes time. Look at ES on the daily right now. So we've put in potential top, we've broken it, we've not come back, but we're putting in a really bearish sign. This is a potential watch for potential breakdown. If we lose that low, what is that low? Around 57.25. We've got this trend line next up. If we do break that down, let's just quickly go out further on the daily. Next area of confluence, 5,500, 5,700, that area, and that's where we are right now. So this is a key area now. Probably over the next day or so we're going to find out which direction we're going to head. Ooh, that's a bit big. If we close below this 50 moving average on the daily, then we could see a bit of a bearish move down, but we can keep an eye on definitely this area. So 5,700 is a key area on the daily. So if we bounce, so let's go back to the hourly again. 5,700 is the area we're watching for a bounce anyway, which is this region here. So that's the area we're watching. So if we do lose this area, our next area on the daily will be probably along this trend line, which happens to be area we're watching. Otherwise, we'll see what happens if we can get through this area here. And don't forget, we have got a bit of volume. Look at this big volume shelf below as well. So we've got a volume shelf below as well. So that could be a bounce area. And that's it really. Okay. On the other stream is the order flow, and that'll be live till the market closes today.